A single sound, a sudden flash. Then chaos filled the hall at Utah Valley University. What began as a shocking tragedy soon evolved into one of the most debated investigations in recent memory. What followed wasn't just about who fired a weapon. It became a test of how modern institutions handle truth, technology, and transparency. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, because the questions raised in this story go far beyond one single event. From the very beginning, authorities identified 22-year-old Tyler Robinson as the primary suspect in the incident. The official reports described him as acting alone, and early evidence appeared to support that conclusion. But as investigators and independent analysts reviewed the case, new details began to complicate the picture. Eyewitness accounts varied. Some described seeing movement near the stage moments before the chaos, while others noticed small inconsistencies between the official footage and what they remembered in real time. These weren't conclusive contradictions, but they raised enough uncertainty to prompt further scrutiny. Digital experts, both inside and outside law enforcement, began examining the publicly released security footage. They noticed identical, precise gaps appearing across several camera angles at the same moment. Technically, that kind of synchronization is unusual and typically happens only when footage is processed after recording. Some experts suggested it might have been the result of a technical malfunction. Others called for an audit to ensure no errors occurred during evidence handling. A leaked internal memo acknowledged that technical irregularities could not be ruled out, a statement that left many wondering how much confidence the public could place in the material being shown. Those irregularities pointed to a broader question: how secure is digital evidence once it enters official custody? Metadata, the digital fingerprint embedded in every file, later showed that at least one of the recordings had been accessed after being cataloged. That didn't automatically imply wrongdoing. Sometimes data is rechecked or copied as part of standard procedure. But the fact that those details weren't immediately clarified fueled speculation online. The incident reminded many observers that even in secure environments, digital evidence can be delicate, vulnerable to technical issues, or misunderstood by the public once information begins circulating on social media. Perhaps the most discussed mystery was a short, missing window of footage, 15 seconds that vanished from every recording just before the first loud sound was captured. Some described the gap as a corruption error caused by a power surge or system overload. Others believed it was evidence of equipment failure triggered by the commotion itself. What little data was recovered from those frames showed only indistinct movement near the back of the stage. Experts reviewing the case noted that without context, such fragments could mean anything, and cautioned against drawing conclusions before the technical review was complete. Inside the investigation, a few individuals raised questions about how evidence was handled. Reports circulated that some technicians had concerns about the integrity of the backup copies and how they were labeled. None of these claims were verified, but they contributed to a growing perception that the process lacked transparency. Federal agencies later announced that internal audits were underway to ensure all evidence met chain of custody standards. When portions of the original footage were eventually leaked online, the public reaction was immediate and intense. Within hours, thousands of users dissected every frame, posting slowed-down clips, zoomed-in analyses, and countless interpretations. In that whirlwind of commentary, facts and theories began to blur. While official investigators urged patience, social media's fast pace turned uncertainty into opinion and opinion into conviction. It became a clear example of how information can evolve and sometimes distort in the public sphere before the full context is known. As protests and debates grew, the Bureau issued a carefully worded update acknowledging that some digital materials experienced corruption during the initial transfer process. That statement didn't assign fault or specify details, but it was enough to confirm that technical complications had occurred. For many following the case, the phrasing reinforced the need for better standards in managing digital evidence during high-profile investigations. Then came a new development that deepened public curiosity far more than any earlier revelation. Weeks into the inquiry, a new round of forensic testing was conducted on the physical and digital materials recovered from the scene. These included camera components, storage devices, and several other items that had previously been cataloged but not fully analyzed due to their degraded condition. When laboratory specialists revisited the evidence, they found trace materials, minute particles, and residue on one of the recovered devices. Early reports described the findings as potentially significant, but requiring extended analysis. However, when the official statement was finally released, the wording was cautious. The results were inconclusive but under review. That phrasing carried weight. It neither confirmed nor dismissed the circulating online theories that had taken root in the weeks prior. Instead, it reinforced a message the investigative team had repeated from the beginning. Conclusions could only be drawn when the science was complete. In modern forensic work, that level of caution is not unusual. Advanced testing techniques, especially those involving digital storage, microfibers, or trace chemical residues, often yield ambiguous results in early phases. Forensic analysts might identify anomalies or foreign substances, but without context, without knowing how those traces got there, the data alone proves little. What might appear meaningful in isolation could, in fact, be unrelated. That's why authorities refrained from releasing detailed descriptions of what was found. The risk of public misinterpretation was simply too high. Still, for the watching public, the lack of specificity only added to the sense of mystery. Many observers, journalists, and online commentators began parsing every phrase of the official statement for hidden meaning. The term, under review, became a kind of placeholder for speculation, prompting endless questions. Was the evidence tampered with? Was it connected to someone previously unidentified? Or was it simply an artifact of poor equipment maintenance? Within investigative circles, analysts pointed out that inconclusive is often the most accurate and responsible word available in such circumstances. It acknowledges that the science has limits, that human interpretation must catch up to what the machines reveal. In that respect, this case became a study in how language itself shapes public understanding of justice. A single ambiguous phrase can fuel weeks of debate, transforming technical uncertainty into public narrative. The deeper challenge for investigators was not only uncovering the facts but also communicating them in a way the public would trust. Modern investigations unfold in an environment where every update is instantly dissected online. Even before official reports are finalized, unofficial theories, edited clips, and commentary flood social platforms, each competing for attention and engagement. The Charlie Kirk investigation was no exception. With each statement released, the digital noise grew louder, and public confidence became harder to maintain. Beyond the technical layers of the case, the wider story revealed something far more profound: how differently people can perceive the same event. For some, the ongoing investigation became a symbol of institutional restraint, a necessary process where every detail must be verified before any claim is made. These observers emphasized patience and due diligence, arguing that precision mattered more than speed. For others, however, the drawn-out silence and careful wording seemed to represent something else entirely: a lack of transparency, a reluctance to confront uncomfortable truths. The absence of definitive answers created a vacuum that emotion quickly filled. As the debate spilled into public spaces, talk shows, and online forums, the case became more than an investigation. It became a reflection of how societies handle uncertainty in the information age. The emotional charge surrounding the event made it increasingly difficult to separate fact from assumption. Some of the most circulated opinions were built not on verified data but on interpretations of tone, timing, or facial expressions in press briefings. Investigators, too, faced pressure. Every word they spoke was recorded, replayed, and scrutinized for possible hidden implications. Under such conditions, even the most careful professionals can find it challenging to maintain composure and confidence. And yet, amid all the noise, one truth stood out clearly. The struggle to understand what happened was as much about perception as it was about evidence. Technology, once expected to clarify reality, has paradoxically made it more complex. Digital forensics, surveillance systems, and online platforms produce vast amounts of data, but interpreting that data, distinguishing between coincidence and causality, remains an art as much as a science. Ultimately, The heart of this story is not confined to a single event, a single suspect, or a single video clip. It's a broader reflection on what happens when truth, technology, and public perception intersect. We now live in an age where a single image can ignite outrage across continents, where a slowed-down video can shape millions of opinions before any investigator can verify its authenticity, and where even responsible journalism struggles to compete with the immediacy of viral speculation. In this environment, accuracy and transparency are often at odds. Speed brings visibility, but it also invites error. Waiting for certainty brings credibility, but it risks being drowned out by noise. The challenge for modern investigators, and for all who report on their work, is to navigate that fragile balance between transparency and accuracy, between timeliness and truth. The Charlie Kirk case, in that sense, has become more than a legal or criminal matter. It has evolved into a symbol of the modern information struggle. The investigation remains active. The findings continue to develop, and many key questions remain unanswered. Yet the very act of watching the process unfold has taught valuable lessons about how truth operates in the digital age. Today, truth is no longer a simple matter of discovery. It's a process, a continuous negotiation between evidence, interpretation, and communication. It requires patience from the public, precision from professionals, and integrity from everyone involved. It demands that we ask hard questions, not only about the incident itself, but also about the systems we trust to define what's real. Every investigation now unfolds under the gaze of millions. Each decision, what to release, what to withhold, how to phrase a statement, can alter public perception in ways that are difficult to predict. Transparency is no longer just an ethical choice, it's a necessity for maintaining legitimacy. But transparency without context can be just as dangerous as secrecy. Sharing incomplete data can mislead just as easily as hiding it. That's the paradox investigators must navigate in the digital era. The story may not yet be complete, but its lessons already resonate. Evidence can be purely technical, yet its implications deeply human. Emotions can amplify meaning far beyond what the facts support. And perception, shaped by headlines, hashtags, and half-formed conclusions, can often outrun truth itself. The power of narrative, in today's world, can shape reality faster than verified facts ever could. That realization places an enormous responsibility not only on investigators and journalists, but on the public as well. Critical thinking, patience, and discernment are no longer luxuries. They are civic duties. The search for truth is no longer the work of professionals alone. It belongs to all of us. And as this case continues to evolve, one message endures. Real truth takes time. It must be examined, cross-checked, and understood in full context. Behind every frame of video, every forensic test, and every public statement lies a process, one that deserves both scrutiny and respect. So, as we continue to follow this investigation, let's remember that truth is rarely instant, and clarity is rarely simple. It's built layer by layer, through persistence, openness, and accountability. The full picture may still be emerging, but one thing remains certain. The way we pursue truth defines the kind of society we become. If you believe in careful reporting, in-depth analysis, and transparent inquiry, make sure to subscribe and follow along